8-year-old child living in these strange times. A child who is wondering if the adults of this world have forgotten about us in this pandemic. I don't understand why I cannot go to school, why I can't play with my friends. I didn't see my grandma for months. I miss her so much. My father is always worried and sad. He lost his job. When I asked my parents all this, they said because of the virus. And we have to do what the government says to protect ourselves and others. And it'll only be a few weeks. But it's been too long, and it seems that life will be like this forever. I feel suffocated and confused. All my friends are terrified. When I say I miss playing with them, they say they're scared to play with me because I might have the virus. I can't see my grandma because they worry I might infect her. When I go shopping with my mum just to leave the apartment, I walk down the street and everyone is moving out of the way of each other. It feels strange not to see people's faces. I don't know if they're happy or angry. It's confusing. It makes me worried if someone was to hurt me, no one would know who they are because everybody has masks on their face. My mum says I'm one of the lucky children, and there are other kids around the world that are in worse situations, and this makes me feel even more sad. I hope when the government puts these rules, they thought of us kids and how all this would affect us. I used to look forward to growing up. Now I'm just scared all the time. I pray to God to help us all.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to one of our shows today, where I have the lovely, fortunate privilege of interviewing Dirk Cilliers, who is the CEO and founder of Monkeynastics and has 125 franchise businesses across the world. So a wealth of experience and expertise, especially in focusing on the movement of education and the holistic development of your child. So Dirk also studied in Scotland and is a master life and business NLP coach, and so has a great understanding of how the mind works. So hello and welcome, Dirk. So happy to have you here.
Hello, Romany. Wonderful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
So today, and that's why I found this lovely video last night about the 10-year-old. Thank you of MindWorks. It's not our video, but I'm just used it because it's just really what the topic is about today. You know, with us as adults, we experienced many challenges when it comes to this lockdown. We have all probably suffered with a little bit of depression, a bit of stress, a bit of everything in the mix. And what about our children? What about your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, all of them? How are they coping during this time? And just watching this video, what reminded me and stood out for me was my grandmother. You know, I was very attached as a child to my grandmother. And I can tell you now, July would be my holiday, my school holidays, where I used to get so excited because I'm going to go to Granny. And I'm telling you, I used to traumatize my mother because I'd cry for days when I left my grandmother in absolute trauma because it felt like the world collapsed around me. So imagine if my mother and my grandmother try and tell me as a little girl that I can't visit my grandmother and that I could make her sick. Imagine, knowing myself, I can imagine the enormous damage and the trauma it would have had an impact on me, because there were times where I couldn't visit my grandmother and I wasn't a very happy child. So yes, thank you, Dirk. I really feel fortunate interviewing you today on this topic. So if you are out there, if you're joining us, please say hello, share your experiences, ask questions. You've got this opportunity now because we're going to help you understand how to work with your child and cope with them during this time. So yes, thank you, Dirk. What have you experienced working with your students and parents during this time?
Awesome. Thank you for that little story about your grandmother. I think that's very relevant right now. So I just want to start by saying I'm by no means a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I respect them. But the difference between that and coaching is coaching focuses absolutely from where you are at the moment and moving into the future. So I'm very excited about that, to take what we have right now to move into the future. So chatting to some of my friends and my franchisees, and a recent survey that we did as well, there is so much stress going around at the moment. So much stress, like never felt before. And also, in some cases, depression. It gets worse. There's, in the family home also, the negative feedback of information creates a lot of negativity around the communication at home. So it's like a snowball effect. What's happening in the home with the stress of the parents and the constant feed of information, that's having a direct effect on the children. And what
Well,
those
my understanding of frequencies and vibration and energy fields, the children pick up on the emotions of the parents and are very sensitive, especially in the first 7 years of their lives. They are operating out of the subconscious mind, according to Bruce Lipton, having researched that. So primarily they would be picking up on those emotions, those stresses and everything that relates to that.
So if you have the children just sitting around, maybe playing games or playing with their toys, and you are having a conversation at home about the curve and the wearing the mask and watching those figures rising and how many people, they are subconsciously consuming that information. And that's causing so much stress and anxiety for them that parents don't always notice and pick up on.
Absolutely, because not every child has the ability. I mean, some children, they will internalize, and if they're too afraid to speak, they won't speak up about it. They might just become quiet or try and cope with it in their own way.
Yeah, becoming quiet is definitely one of the symptoms, or becoming more quiet, one of the signs.
So what would you say are some of the solutions that parents can offer their children to help them cope when it comes to mental health and trying to get through this time?
That's a very important question, and it is such an easy answer. What's your communication around the house? You can be experiencing the stress and talking about people being dismissed and restaurants not being open and the wine industry. So you can focus your conversation around that, or change it, and not watch the 7 o'clock news every night to see how those figures are changing, because that's having the effect on the children. So start with the way you are dealing with it and what you are talking about specifically at home.
Just a reminder to everyone, if you've got any questions, if you'd like to say hello, let us know. Share and like this with anyone that you feel would be this would be beneficial, because most of us, a lot of us have grandchildren, we've got nieces, we've got nephews, and we have got children ourselves. I don't have any, but I do and can see the impact it has on other people's children and even on our own lives. So I would imagine maybe having open conversations with children about the situation, and what would your thoughts be on that?
Two things come to mind as I listen to you. It's very important at this time to work on the children's social skills at home. And the only way you can do that is by communicating with them and also being honest with them, sharing also your experiences with them and how you are experiencing the situation, and raising their emotional intelligence almost in that way, that they understand it, not from a stressful perspective, but more from a calm communicative perspective in the safety at home.
Right. That's very good advice. That's something that I wish I'd learned that's something I wish parents would be more open to doing, and not treating children almost like, from my own personal experience, I'm not I know I'm a child, but treat me as a human being with, learning to understand, because at the end of the day, you are kind of wanting to raise your children to become responsible adults, responsible, effective communicators. So having that open dialogue can go a long way to helping a child's development, would it?
Fantastic. You know, the next word on my lips was responsibility, and you mentioned that now in your last sentence. This is also the perfect opportunity to teach children responsibility. Responsibility has shifted a little bit because mom's working from home now, the animals need to be fed, or the washing needs to be put in the dryer, or so. Those small little things that to get the children actively involved in this process that's changing by giving them more responsibility, because before the lockdown, children had very limited responsibility. Wonderful opportunity for that.
Yes, that is so true. I mean, I've watched a lot of children, I mean, where the mothers are running around doing all the washing, cleaning and all the things and running themselves stupid, and then they still got to do their jobs and their day jobs. It's a lot of stress and responsibility on the parents. And, you know, often the excuse is, oh, they're just children, you can't make them do this kind of stuff. But actually, it teaches them responsibility. It gives them a sense of, would you say it would give them a sense of feeling like they're part of something?
Absolutely, part of the solution almost during this time. And also one of the things that's really contributing to a more positive mental health state is doing a task and completing the task. So even if it's a small task, you feel a sense of accomplishment, and then you feel better about yourself. Your self-esteem is a little bit better. So it's important, very important for children. And that's also one of the symptoms. They start a task and they don't finish the task. To start doing things that you start and finish the task consistently every Friday at 10 or so. So very important as part of that solution. And of course, something else that I had jotted down here, you know, there's been a lot less laughter. A lot less laughter. Even at schools, when the children are sitting in their little cages with their masks on, there's a lot less laughter. So it's a good idea at home to have a joke evening, or do funny things for your children, or start acting up, dress up, or watch a funny movie and really laugh, because then you have got those endorphins coming out, and that changes also your mental health state if you laugh together with family.
I love that, because you know what? There's always been laughter's medicine for the soul. Laughter is very good for your body. It is actually really healthy for your well-being. So the more that you can encourage laughing, I agree, because, you know, you just reminded me, you know, all I see is these poor kids at school sitting in what feels like cages, you know, and they used to have their buddy over there, and now they can't go and play with their buddy, or, you know, they can't go close to their buddy. It must be a really different mindset. I mean, even for myself as an adult, just that feeling of, you know what, I mean, I know I can hug my mom, I'm living in the same room as her, but I almost am hesitant, whereas before I just go, hey mom, let's hug, and, you know, have a good time. And now it's like, you know, even though I'm living with her, you know what I mean, I'm like, we're breathing the same air and there's nothing wrong with us. So yes, I like that.
We think of, you know, for 25 years, our primary focus with Monkey Gymnastics has been to teach the children confidence and create a positive self-esteem. We didn't even use the word positive mental health. For us, it was just what we did. So when we started going back to schools now, and this was feedback from the teachers and the parents, the children were so quiet and sitting with their masks in their little cages. But after Monkey Gymnastics left there was laughter again, and there were communication amongst the children. So it seemed to just lift their spirits a little bit.
Oh, that sounds so awesome. So we've had some feedback from some people. Margie is saying that, hi, love your guys' topics. I'm a grandmother and worry about how the parents are handling lockdown and overweight. So that's something also, yes, that's to be concerned about. And then Eve is saying you feel like in the shops no one talks to each other anymore. It's just so very different. It's a very different. And I think with the mask on, you know, it has another effect. I mean, if I think about my two dogs that don't bark, they don't bark at anybody. Now, if there's someone at the gate and they see someone at the gate, they act barking their heads off, you know what I mean? And it's like such a change in behavior even for my animals. So can you imagine what it's like for little children? And one of the guys that came to
exactly around that. Children wearing the masks, or people wearing the masks. Children cannot read the emotion of your face. And for babies and younger children that don't even verbalize words yet, that is a lot of the communication skills, how they learn is by facial expression. And now you don't have a facial expression anymore, so you're hiding the emotions. So it's a lot more difficult for children to analyze those emotions, also internally, subconsciously.
That is such a valid point that you raised there, because, you know, if you understand body language and understand the mechanics of body language, I mean, it's almost like, you know, they talk about it in marketing and sales. You know, the first 4 seconds or the first few seconds, you've made an impression just through body language, and now you don't have that body language experience anymore. So, you know, that is also what I would imagine would impact early child development, is learning and understanding that those key mechanics of being a functional contributor to society.
Yeah.
So, Dirk, can I ask you, what are some of the symptoms you mentioned earlier? You know, children becoming quiet and reserved, and you mentioned another one, not completing tasks. What other symptoms can parents look out for so that they are aware, and so that they can just monitor their child a little bit, observe and see how they behave, to help them if they do notice something?
So on our new Cybernastics platform, we are going to create a mental health check, just a 10-point mental health check that will give people access to. So the moment it's live, we'll start spreading that out as well. But so we've got some things, but I also went to do my own type of research to see what are those symptoms, because they could be so slight that parents don't pick it up. So I'm just going to read through a couple of them here for you. Children are more quiet than usual. They use the words "I'm tired" a lot, or "I've got tummy pain." So that's clear indications. Sometimes a loss of appetite, not a lot of eye contact, can't keep a conversation going.
Sure, these are such subtle things that people don't often think about.
Mood swings, can't really get excited about future things. You know, if you talk about we're going out or this, not getting excited about that. And of course, fearful, and the major thing with children is definitely a lot less laughter and a lot more. I've spoken to my friends in Northern Ireland just to get a international perspective on it, and she's got 5 grandchildren from the age of 7 and down. She said they're a lot more reserved and a lot more cautious, as if they very information orientated. So they don't want to just do something, they want to know first. Is it going to be safe? Are there going to be other people around there? And so they're definitely a lot more cautious. And I think as a parent, you'll pick up from your child, maybe a little bit more irritable, waking up in the middle of the night, maybe having a oopsie at night by weeing in the bed or so. So you'll pick it up. And it's those small little things that, and you know, mental health, normally you think about the negativity of mental health, or the negative side, the reason for this discussion as well. But mental health can also be positive. So if you identify the small negative things, you can focus on the positive. And it's so easy to change it in children because they are so susceptible.
I like that. That's really good advice. Yes. I mean, I was just thinking now, you were talking about how subtle things can be. I mean, I didn't even think about body language. I completely forgot about the impact of body language and how children read people's faces and emotions, you know. For sure. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier, and I'm hoping, yes, so as soon as you have that checklist, please share it with us so that we can share it with everybody else. I'd love to do that. And
that is an added thing that we're putting on our platforms now, because it's an essential part. And then we want to also say, you know, if you're experiencing some of these emotional health challenges, you can do the following things: have a laughter workshop, or do this or do that or the other. So we're just adding that as an extra added thing onto our already existing awesome movement education stuff that we've got. That's excellent. And I think also what might be lovely for parents just to also engage, you know, sometimes many of us have been raised not to speak openly. Many of us have been raised to keep it behind closed doors, keep your skeletons in your closet. I think we need to shift that mindset and learn to open up, to say, you know what, it's okay. My child's not coping.
how can I help my child? Because I think when you open up more, you are empowering not only yourself, but as well as your children. And we get to learn from each other. We get to explore things with each other and help each other through this time.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, a shocking statistic that I came across yesterday is 85% of adults currently globally, I don't know how the survey was done, will be experiencing post-traumatic stress in some way or another. So it's not 50%, it's 85%. It's almost 9 out of 10 people. That's massive.
That's
massive. In order to deal with it, you need to identify it and then to easily work through it. You know, it will be easy in a way because it's not you wouldn't need medication or stuff for that unless it falls into a major depression situation. But to deal through this, I'm confident that just by doing a couple of things, everybody's mental health and well-being can be uplifted now with the new seasons.
I think so, and I'm hoping that we all work towards it, because it really is necessary, just listening to your story, because, you know, these are going to become, I from my own personal experience, even though I'm introverted, even though I work from home, even though I love being at home, I can feel the impact of that stress. So I know what you're referring to. And then at the same time, how do we get those children so that one day when they're 20 years old, because this is something that I've noticed, how a lot of my childhood experiences have impacted me as an adult, how they've impacted me, and I've had to war with myself to try and overcome, especially in the area of confidence and self-esteem. And that's something you mentioned earlier on. So as an adult, and just remember that what you're doing with your child now will definitely have an impact on their business going forward, on the way they handle jobs, the way they function in society, the way they communicate. Because I know that the lack of self-esteem and confidence is almost like a barrier in my own life that I keep on having to work with. It's like this demon that keeps on rearing its ugly head in my life. And I, you know, and in some situations, I have to war with this demon first in order to be able to negotiate that deal, or to be able to move in a business function or an area of my life. So that's just one of my pieces of advice that I can give people out there.
Yeah.
So one of the last things, did you want to, sorry?
Yeah, so listening to you, it's very important for, you know, after the Spanish flu or after the Second World War, there wasn't the media that we've got available today feeding us all that information. So Dr. Graham Codrington, his company is Tomorrow Today. They researched pandemics and wars and the effect of that, and how people then the after effects of that. And they came up with some wonderful things. You can go and check that out online. But one of the things that stood out for me is after a pandemic or after a war, there is so much innovation, and people seem to get back to humility and support and encouragement on that level that didn't exist before. So normally after the pandemic, and also another very positive thing about the research is pandemics, and it's short-lived compared to the cycles that they come in. So it's short-lived. For us now it feels long, but it's short-lived. And after that, there's a lot of innovation and a lot of social integration with the people and the children that's growing up in that, provided that they're not fed all this negative information all the time.
I love that, because yes, in every market crash, and that is economics, every market crash, there's always plenty of opportunity. It's how you look at life and how you perceive things. And I just love the background that you have there, the sound of the nature and the birds. I can hear them twittering away. I mean, that's just so healthy for everyone.
It's my happy place at the moment, hey.
So one of the things that you mentioned earlier on that I can't wait to hear about it is your nanny-nastics. Oh, you got nanny-nastics, monkey-nastics, lots-of-nastics. What is nanny-nastics all about?
You know, we've got so many things going on at the moment, but nanny-nastics has now jumped to the top 5 on my priority list. So a couple of days ago, I went to walk to Lonial Lake. I live in Lonial, and there's a nice lake in a park with my little dog, Skiki. And I noticed a lot of nannies around, dressed in their uniforms, pushing the pram, and 2 kids with them and around in groups. not in groups, like out in the park. And I've been walking that park for years, and it was noticeable for me because there were more nannies and more kids. So I just thought, these nannies need to be empowered because they've now got a different function at home. They're not just a nanny anymore. They now also become the educator because those kids would have normally maybe been back at school and now they're at home. So I'm sure there are some home programs and things that the parents are considering, but we are going to be launching nanny-nastics, specifically to empower and train the nannies with a short program that we're going to do online with an award for them to be able to be our instructors, almost, if you want to call it that, at home. To talk about healthy habits. We've got 8 healthy habits about sleeping, about diet, and about the exercises that we do, and also the mental health around that. Rather than them just sitting, now we empower them with the skills to really make a huge difference because they are spending the day with those kids and they can make an enormous impact.
Oh, I love the sound of it. And on the other hand, I'm also seeing yes, because sometimes people go, oh, what you doing? But you know what? You're actually not only just helping that nanny to help your child, but those skills can then be transferred to their own children within the townships and in the communities. So they're actually having added value. And then one day, it's all about empowerment and growth. So maybe if the nanny doesn't feel like they want to move on and start their own business, they've got these skills that they can transfer to others and help each others do the same thing. I love that.
Yeah, we love that too, and I can't wait.
Oh, please let me know so we can have another chat about it.
Yeah,
so yes, going over to some of our comments, I see that Eva's saying that we need to make sure that our children are not getting enough exercise. They need to exercise a bit more. Yes, exercise is always good for the health, always good for the body. I know I don't do enough of it. I see my mom, it's very healthy at her age. She's a baby boomer, so yeah. There she is doing her exercise, and I'm going, oh, and every time I see her do her exercise, I'm feeling a little bit guilty because I seem to be glued to my screen because I've got so much work to do. Jocelyn is also saying exercise and healthy food choices are so important. Any final things you want to share?
Going through a list here that I just jotted down from my experience. Through coaching, I was taught and I've learned that everything starts with sleep. You got to sleep at least 8 hours a night or what's comfortable for you. But then through the lockdown, that's changed a little bit because sleep is so erratic and there's no real structure throughout the week. So the first thing is exercise. You have to exercise and you have to make your body tired and then you can sleep. So exercise is definitely I think the starting point. And exercise doesn't have to be doing 500 sit-ups or push-ups or this or that. Exercise can also be working in the garden or packing away the washing or making the bed. All those little things contribute to the exercise, but that's crucial.
Oh, you're speaking my language there because I'm really bad at it. And you can ask, I also suffer from not sleeping. So yes, okay, I'm going to make a more concerted effort to exercise. I like that. Thank you for that. So that brings us to the end of our show today. I hope you found this helpful and informative, and I surely did. I've learned some tips and some tricks. And yes, if you know somebody that would like to know more about this, or maybe you've got people in your family that might need some input on helping their children, whether you're a grandmother, whether you're a mother, a father, a husband, whichever way this can be helpful to you. And if you'd like to get hold of Dirk or Monkey Gymnastics or see what Monkey Gymnastics is all about, I will be popping the link in the comment box below. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Dirk, for coming on board today and having this discussion with us. And yes, have a super week further.
Thank you, Romani. All the best for you guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.